Hello, I'm Kreatya Shannon, and welcome to this installment of Unleash Your Creativity. We have been spending time going through a book called The Yamas and Niyamas, Exploring Yoga's Ethical Practice by Deborah Adele. One thing that has been really helpful about going through this series is that a lot of the attributes that have come up in looking at our yoga relaxation exercises are also aspects to think about in storytelling and character development. We are now on the second of the niyamas, and that is santosha, or contentment. Deborah Adele defines santosha as something that invites us into contentment by taking refuge in a calm center, opening our hearts in gratitude for what we do have, and practicing the paradox of not seeking. And that's an interesting phrase. What does it mean to not seek? She's talking about that tendency to look at other people's lives and see what our own is missing. You know, the whole grass is greener on the other side thing. And so when we keep looking, that moves us into a state of feeling like we don't have enough, we need more, and thereby we continue to seek instead of being content with what it is that we have. Deborah Adele then ties that into pleasure and avoidance. The idea that we're drawn more towards the things that we want, we move toward them. And that can be a good thing, except that if we spend too much energy trying to get ourselves in a position to have more of those things that we want, instead of being content with the amount of them we have, that can be dangerous. To make the point, she has a quote that basically says this: looking outward for fulfillment will always disappoint us and keep contentment one step out of reach. And then we haven't necessarily done the best with our time or valued the things that we do have, going back to a previous discussion that we had. In Deborah Adele's words, in truth, the yogis tell us things are neutral. It is the personal labeling that we put on these things that makes them appealing or repulsive to us. So, looking at it from the sense of the yoga thought, which is respectful of what we're exploring here, it's all about our perspective on these items, these states, these conditions, and not the conditions themselves that can tie into that. And that's choice. In Deborah Adele's opinion, seeking and avoiding our expensive uses of our energy. And I think I agree with that because instead of making the most of the creative energy that we have, for example, that's, we're creative folk, that's what we're here for. If How many hours could we spend doing creative things that we might instead be focusing on one side or the other of that coin? It's also about how much power that we give. If we're looking for things that are outside of us, we're giving the control of us to those outside things instead of us having the most control possible over what we can do. And that's a completely different thing, by the way, just to be clear, than turning things over to the divine. That's putting trust in something else and a very personal spiritual thing, but I'm referring to other people, objects, things of this world, creating that priority. Again, it comes back to gratitude. I'm really starting to feel that I want to unpack gratitude more after we get out of the Deborah Adele based series. Because it's so important as creative people being able to have gratitude for what we have. For now, let's just take some time, close out with a little relaxation exercise, and take some time to sit in that idea of gratitude. We loosen up, put your hands where they're comfortable on your lap, sides. Close your eyes, and let's just breathe for a few. Think about those things that we feel gratitude for. Reflect, relax. Now, if you've closed your eyes, open them and take a few breaths as we come back to where we are. And again, I'm Kreatya Shannon, and I have so much gratitude for all the time that you take to spend with me as we discover together ways to unleash our creativity. Looking forward to seeing you next time. Take care.